Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. What if I told you that losing like 12 of your best players just weeks before facing the Springboks isn't a disaster, but maybe the exact strategic miracle England needed?
I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds crazy on paper. Right?
It really does. But before we solve this incredible tactical puzzle, make sure you subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in the description. You really, really don't want to miss what we're putting together for you over there.
Yeah, lots of great stuff coming up.
Definitely. So let's set the scene here because the stakes right now are just astronomically high. Steve Borthwick, England's head coach, is looking down the barrel of the July tests.
And these are not easy matches.
No, absolutely not. We are talking massive, brutally physical matchups against the Springboks, Fiji, and Argentina. And, all of this is serving as the runway into the upcoming Nations Championship.
Right, the pressure is on.
And we have to be completely honest with you about the context here. England is coming off a really tough Six Nations run, just one win from 5 tests.
Yeah, which is a tough pill to swallow.
For a rugby nation with this much pride, for sure. So to shake off that hangover, Borthwick held this highly ambitious 3-day alignment camp across 3 continents, actually.
Total logistical marathon.
Literally. But the headline from this camp isn't about new plays or whatever. It's this daunting 12-man injury list.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to look at that and just hit the panic button.
Well, instantly, you see 12 premium guys out and you think, well, tour's over.
Exactly. But our mission today is to look at this not as a death knell, but as an incredibly compelling strategic puzzle that England just has to solve.
What's fascinating here is that in the brutal landscape of international rugby, an injury crisis of this specific magnitude, it's never just bad luck.
Right.
It's the ultimate diagnostic test of a nation's depth chart. And even more critically, it's a massive test of a coaching staff's adaptability.
Because you can't just plug and play at this level.
Exactly. When you lose this many highly specific pieces on the tactical chessboard, you aren't just slotting the next guy in. You simply can't do that against world-class opposition. You're forced to rethink your entire tactical geometry from the ground up.
Oh, yeah.
And this is exactly where we get to see what Steve Borthwick's overarching philosophy really is, when his back is firmly against the wall and plan A is thrown out the window.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
Because to truly understand how Borthwick is going to solve this massive puzzle, we have to look at the structural foundation of the team.
The players definitely ruled out.
Right. We need to see exactly what kind of rebuilding he's facing. The long-term casualty list is pretty sobering, especially since it impacts the rest of the Premiership season, too.
Yeah, it's a heavy list.
You've got Trevor Davison out with a knee issue. Bevan Rod is sidelined with a shoulder problem. Will Muir also has a shoulder injury.
And the back row is hurting, too.
Yeah, Ben Curry and Billy Searle, they're both dealing with these really tricky hamstring injuries. Plus, Elliot Daly is out with an arm injury. All those guys were totally out of consideration for the camp.
But the real issue, the glaring one, is up front.
Yeah, the absolute critical warning light flashing red on Borthwick's dashboard is the front row. Tight head Will Stuart has been out with an Achilles injury since December.
Which is brutal for a tight head.
Totally ruling him out of the summer tour.
Yeah.
And then you look at the other side of the scrum, and Harlequin's loosehead Finn Baxter needs another foot operation.
Same issue since December, right?
Yeah, caused him to miss the Six Nations, and now he's officially sidelined until next season. Now, thinking about the mechanics of the game, losing your tight head's Achilles and your loose head's pivot foot, it feels a bit like trying to build a brick wall when half your premium bricks have been recalled.
Or trying to fire a cannon from a canoe.
Yes. The Springbok pack is the cannonball, but without Stuart and Baxter acting as the solid ground, all that force just flips England backward.
So, without those two, does Borthwick just concede the scrum?
Well, that's the big question.
Does he tell the pack to just hook the ball as fast as humanly possible and abandon the push? Or is there a way to mask this against the Borks?
That's a highly logical theory, but the stark reality is you cannot simply concede the scrum against a team like South Africa or Fiji without completely starving your backline of any usable possession.
You just give away too much.
Right. To understand why, you have to look at the actual biomechanics of the set piece. A tight head prop like Will Stuart relies entirely on the explosive power and stability of his lower legs to anchor the scrum.
And the Achilles is basically the key to all of that.
Exactly. An Achilles injury takes away that very foundation. When the opposition loose head drives up and under, Stuart's Achilles is the precise mechanism that allows him to drop his weight and hold the line.
And what about Baxter on the other side? Well, on the loose head side, Finn Baxter's foot operation is equally catastrophic for a conventional scrum. For a loose head, the outside foot is the pivot point of the immense twisting pressure coming from the other side.
So if he can't plant that foot,
He gets folded inward, the scrum instantly collapses, and you concede a penalty. And South Africa will specifically try to exploit Baxter's absence. They'll angle their drives to target whoever steps into that role, just hunting for any sign of structural weakness in the footwork.
yeah, so if you can't just hook the ball and run to avoid it, and you clearly can't match their pushing power without your premium anchors, what is the actual mechanical fix for Borthwick?
The fix is that it forces a total systemic shift. Borthwick knows he cannot rely on dominating the set piece to win territory, so the tactical geometry has to change.
Meaning what, exactly?
He has to implement a high-tempo, open-field strategy. This means England has to focus obsessively on minimizing knock-ons and forward passes to avoid scrums in the first place.
Oh, wow, so just taking the set piece out of the equation entirely if possible.
Exactly. It means utilizing much faster exits from their own 22-meter line. And it likely means asking the scrum half to play the ball away from the base of the ruck, the absolute millisecond it's available.
Instead of holding it to draw a penalty.
Right. It shifts England's entire offensive platform from a power-based set-piece game to an evasion and territory kicking game. It fundamentally dictates the entire rhythm of the match.
That paints an incredibly clear picture. So if Borthwick is abandoning the power scrum game, he has to rely on this high-tempo strategy.
And for that, you need fitness.
Right. To play high-tempo, you need your absolute fittest, most explosive players on the park. Which brings us perfectly to the unpredictable variables here. The players nursing knocks and Borthwick's highly debated choice to rest his healthy stars.
It's a huge point of contention right now.
It really is. But before we get into the complex psychology of resting healthy players, here's a quick reminder to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in the description.
Highly recommend it.
And we also want to hear directly from you. Head down to the comments right now and let us know. Do you agree with coaches resting star players during crucial training camps? It's a massive debate, and we want to know exactly where you stand.
It really is a massive debate, because when you look at the current squad list, Borthwick is having to make some incredibly delicate, high-stakes decisions regarding those marginal injuries.
Let's look at the specific question marks. You've got Greg Fisselow, hasn't played since Exeter's defeat to Gloucester because of a lingering knee issue.
Yeah.
Sam Underhill picked up an unknown knock in Bath's win over Northampton. And then there's Freddie Stewart, who had thumb surgery.
But there's a silver lining with Stuart, right?
Yeah, he was still named in the 42-man squad last week. His head coach at Leicester says they're hopeful he'll be back before the season's end, so not too long of a wait. But then we look at the guys who aren't injured at all. Maro Itoje and Ben Spencer.
Both entirely healthy.
Both healthy. Yet Borthwick revealed they left the 3-day training camp early. He told reporters he's treating players individually to do what's strictly right for them. Now, I have to push back here.
Go for it.
What does this all mean in reality? I hear the player welfare argument, but South Africa is going to bring absolute brutality to those July tests. If Itoje hasn't been taking those live physical reps in camp to, callous his body to the hits, aren't we just sending him out there completely undercooked?
I see where you're coming from, but
I mean, doesn't resting him right after a historically bad Six Nations risk a completely different kind of disaster on the pitch?
if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is actually the exact opposite of sending him out undercooked. This is an incredibly progressive and necessary approach to modern player welfare.
Okay, how so?
Well, Borthwick is acutely aware of something called central nervous system fatigue. The physical toll of elite-level rugby today is a grueling 12-month attrition rate.
Right. They barely get a break.
Exactly. Borthwick is looking at his long-term injury list, guys like Trevor Davison, Ben Curry, Will Stuart, and he's realizing that if he pushes his healthy stars to the absolute limit during a camp, he risks adding them directly to that casualty list.
That makes sense.
Maro Itoje plays a brand of rugby that requires him to be in the absolute center of the physical confrontation for a full 80 minutes. The cumulative impact on his joints, his muscles, and his neurological recovery is immense.
So hitting in camp just drains him?
Exactly. If he goes into camp and takes live, bone-on-bone hits against his own teammates just to callous himself, he drains the specific explosive energy reserves he needs for the actual test match.
Because the high-tempo evasion game we just established they need to play requires a completely different energy system than, like, a slow set-piece grind.
Precisely. Let's look at the specific defensive systems Borthwick is trying to implement. The aggressive blitz defense requires the forwards to sprint off the line with maximum velocity to shut down the opposition's thinking time.
You have to be so fast off the mark.
Right. If Itoje's legs are heavy and his nervous system is drained from a grueling contact session, he is half a second late on his defensive raid. And against a team like Fiji,
Half a second late means they're gone.
they are already past your shoulder and into open space. By sending Itoje and Spencer home early, Borthwick is making a calculated gamble. He's intentionally sacrificing a few days of immediate tactical cohesion to ensure that when Itoje fires off the line in July, he has maximum fast-twitch muscle response.
That is a phenomenal insight. It's essentially saying, I need you neurologically fresh more than I need you tactically perfect.
Exactly.
And that becomes even more critical when you consider how injuries change the communication of that blitz defense. Like, missing Elliot Daly specifically alters the edge defense communication.
Massively.
Daly is usually the veteran orchestrating the channel between the outside center and the wing. Without his voice out there, the inside guys like Itoje have to be even faster off the line to cover up any potential miscommunications on the edge.
It's exactly right. And this brings us to why these crises are often necessary. History shows us that major injury crises frequently force coaches to abandon their comfortable plan A.
And discover a plan B that's actually better.
Yeah, far more dynamic.
Yeah.
You can no longer rely on the same veteran communication channels, so you are forced to inject raw, unpredictable talent into the mix and trust them to execute.
Which is the perfect pivot. Here's where it gets really interesting. By managing that rest so carefully, Borthwick has bought himself time for the cavalry returning.
The exciting part.
Yeah. You look at the players coming back after missing the Six Nations, and it is exactly the kind of dynamic firepower that fits this new high-tempo strategy. Tom Curry is back from his calf issue.
Huge return.
George Martin has recovered from his shoulder injury. Emmanuel Fewa-Boso has shaken off that hamstring issue. And on top of that, Luke Cowan-Dickey is actively rehabbing his arm injury right inside the England camp.
Nearing a return to full fitness, yeah.
Bringing guys like Fewa-Boso and Tom Curry back into the mix has to be a massive psychological boost. But more importantly, it feels like the exact tactical antidote to that rough Six Nations campaign.
This raises an important question, though. How does the reintroduction of these specific players mechanize the new strategy Borthwick is forced to play?
Because they're not just good players.
Right. They aren't just names on a team sheet. They are the exact tactical solutions to the structural problems created by the injuries we discussed earlier. They provide the specific kind of physicality that was glaringly absent during the Six Nations.
Because if we don't have the scrum to slow the game down and win penalties, we desperately need players who can dictate the pace in open play.
Yes, disrupt the opposition's rhythm. Let's examine Tom Curry's role in this. We all know he tackles hard, but it's how he operates post-tackle that completely changes the game.
His work at the breakdown.
Elite. He has an elite ability to win the shoulder battle at the breakdown. When he tackles a player, his jackal technique is second to none. He immediately rolls, regains his feet, and clamps onto the ball carrier.
Surviving the clean-out.
Surviving immense force. That specific jackal technique delays the opposition's ball release by maybe 2 or 3 critical seconds. And that 2-second delay is the exact mechanism that allows England's defensive line to reset.
Catch their breath and launch the blitz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without the scrum to give them a breather, Curry's breakdown work becomes the primary way England controls the tempo and neutralizes Fiji's rapid-fire attack.
That makes total sense. Curry is acting as the anchor in open play that Stuart usually provides in the set piece.
Beautifully put.
And then you have George Martin, who brings this raw, abrasive edge to the collision area, providing the friction to stop the Springboks' momentum. But what about the attack?
The evasion game.
Yeah, if we're kicking for territory and playing a high-tempo evasion game, how does a guy like Emmanuel Fewa-Boso change the attacking geometry?
Oh, Fewa-Boso is an absolute nightmare for a drifting defense. Teams like South Africa and Fiji love to rush up and then drift outward, using the touchline as an extra defender.
Just pushing you to the edge.
Right. But his specific running lines change the entire geometry of the pitch. He has this incredible ability to step sharply off his right foot while moving at absolute top speed.
That is so hard to defend
It
against.
forces the inside defender to completely plant their feet and commit to tackling him. The moment that defender stops drifting and commits inward, it opens up a tiny, fleeting window for a skip pass to the outside.
Completely altering the edge defense communication.
You pair that subtle manipulation with his raw, explosive pace, and suddenly England has a lethal weapon out wide that forces defenses to stay honest. It fundamentally upgrades what the opposition has to prepare for.
It really is a complete perspective shift. I mean, we started this deep dive looking at a 12-man injury list that felt like a dark cloud over the team.
An absolute death sentence for the tour.
Right. But when you break down the mechanics, conceding that the power scrum is compromised, shifting to a high-tempo game, actively resting players to preserve fast-twitch responses, and injecting open-play disruptors like Curry and Feo Boso, the entire picture looks totally different.
It really does.
It's less of a crisis and more of a forced but potentially brilliant strategic evolution.
Exactly. What looks like a devastating crisis on paper is actually a brilliant, albeit forced, stress test for England's depth chart.
Yeah.
When you have so many established veterans sidelined, you can no longer rely on the safe, comfortable choices. You are forced to innovate. You are forced to look at the younger players or the fringe players and give them the immense responsibility of executing a highly complex game plan.
Against the most intimidating teams in the world.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over as we wrap up today. With so many established veterans nursing injuries and watching from the sidelines, and the traditional tactical playbook completely thrown out the window, could this seemingly terrifying injury list secretly be the best thing to happen to England?
It's a great question.
Could this be the exact crucible required to force the team to unearth the next generation of superstars against the Springboks and Fiji, ultimately building a far more resilient squad for the future? We want to know what you think.
Let us know.
Hit the comment section and share your opinions on who you believe will step up and fill these massive tactical boots. And of course, please make sure to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession YouTube channel and newsletter from the link in the description. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.